my 7th graders, here we are again, trying to get through most of what we got in the Civil War. I don't know how much more time we're going to have together. We're going to finish the Civil War, and we're going to get through, at the very least, we're going to get through Reconstruction of the South after the Civil War. But, I mean, I think you guys have an idea who wins. You should know that. Remember to continue answering your questions. Remember to continue answering complete sentences. Remember to look at the feedback I give you on your assignments, not just go, oh, cool, he looked at it, that's it. Look at Power School to see what you missed. Look to see what your grades are, okay? That's all you can say. If you're getting zeros for stuff and you say, I handed it in, well, generally it's because you only did one question out of the like 8 or 9 that I've given you, and that's not credit worthy. You're not getting it. If you're starting a sentence off with it, he, she, they, because, or cause, come on, this formal writing, you should know better than that. But let's get into talking about what we're going to talk about, right? In 1863, we're getting really through a lot of major battles. We're getting through a bunch of early battles. We're just about the halfway point of the war. We're seeing a lot of men die, and we're seeing that not enough men were volunteering for the draft or volunteering for the Union cause. So Congress passed a draft law. All men between the ages of 20 and 45 are going to be required to serve in the military. The only caveat, the only exception to this would be, is if you were wealthy enough, you could pay you could pay your way out of it. You could pay $300, and you could basically say, I'm not going to serve, and they would say, fine, that's spectacular, you can do that. Eventually, it's going to get to a point where there's going to be a couple of riots in a couple of cities. Probably the worst one is going to be in New York City. There's going to be a draft riot. A whole bunch of young men that were not wealthy enough to afford the $300 are going to be very upset that they're going to be drafted. They are very upset because they basically think that they're going to go out and die, and they're also thinking that they're going to have to, possibly lose their job to the freed slaves once they gain their freedom. Some of them could just be racist, but I think the overwhelming majority of them are just upset because they want to go off and fight, and B, they don't really, want to have all this competition for their jobs. They start to call it a rich man's war, but a poor man's fight. And that's the problem. We still see economic distancing and economic discrepancies today, which causes a lot of friction between people. But this is going to happen. I put a video in there for you to watch about the draft riots as well. All right? Lincoln is going to suspend the right of habeas corpus. What that means is he's going to suspend the right. He can just throw you in jail and leave you there. He doesn't have to tell you why. He doesn't have to tell you how long. He's just basically going to say, if you are going to speak out against the government, or you're going to speak out against Abraham Lincoln, or you're going to try and get people to follow your ways, he's going to throw you in jail without a trial, really without being arrested. Just going to grab you and just throw you in. There's going to be no due process of what you think you have now. And he does it legally. He says that pretty much any time in a time of war or rebellion, I can do this. So when things get bad, the Constitution that he's fighting to protect, he bends it to fit his needs. So anybody who's really talking bad stuff or saying bad things about him is going to go to jail for an unspecified amount of time. Could be a day, could be a year, could be forever. It's not really very American, but it works because Lincoln says, essentially, this is what's happening and I have to defend the United States. All right? He bends this constitutional argument to fit his needs. Congress passes the draft law. Congress passes and accepts the Emancipation Proclamation in 1863. Congress will also pass an income tax in 1861 to help pay for the war. So it's not as if Congress isn't doing anything. Remember, half the states that were in the United States at one point are not there anymore. So the people that voted Lincoln in are getting all the things that he wants passed, really without too much argument right now. There will be arguments about other things, but not at this point in time. The Confederacy also has a Congress. They passed something called a tax in kind. Very difficult to enforce. The income tax, basically, you tell me how much you make, and we're going to tell you, and we're going to take part of it. The tax in kind is tell me how much you're going to grow or how much you've grown, and we're going to take a portion of it. In this case, it's 1/10 of their crops. They're running out of stuff. The Confederacy is just running out of stuff. Our blockade, the Anaconda Plan, is crushing them, and they really just don't have the ability to fight the war. It's working. It really is. Our plan is working. So essentially, we start to see that we're going to go around trying to implement our second plan of attack. Vicksburg still controlled by the Confederacy. It lies along the Mississippi River. Ulysses S. Grant is now in control of all the Union forces. He realizes he can't do it because it sits up higher in elevation on the Mississippi River, and our gunboats just can't reach it. Basically, what we do is we have our ironclads sail up the Mississippi River, blast the heck out of the Confederates, and then we go in there with our troops. It's not as simple as that. I mean, a whole bunch of people are still going to die, but that's the way it is in a war. He realized he can't really get Vicksburg, and that's the last mainstay. So he goes and attacks Jackson, Mississippi. He wins there. He goes around. He lays siege to Vicksburg for 6 weeks. Basically, a siege is where you surround them. You don't let anybody in. You don't let anybody out. You blast away. You have little conflicts here and there where they start to use up their ammunition. You starve them, and sooner or later, those people will, starve them with supplies, whether it's food, whether it's ammunition, whether it's gunpowder. These people are going to eventually have to surrender, and that's what happens. Right around July 4th, on July 4th of 1863, we now have complete control of the Mississippi River. So Anaconda Plan is in place. Mississippi River is now in control of the Union. We have the Confederacy split into two. We've accomplished two of our main goals for the defeat of the Confederacy. Lee is going to see that this is going to be a problem. He's seeing that there's people that are talking about the Union just surrendering because they're tired of just seeing the fight. There's a big peace movement going on. You will see that in the videos that I showed you. On June 30th, 1863, he's going to start a 3-day battle in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. The Confederates forced the Union out of the town on the first day. The Union moves to Cemetery Ridge overlooking the town, and then we start to see, well, let me go back there for just a second. These are actual pictures of the Battle of Gettysburg after the battle had taken place. Those are actual people that were, killed in Gettysburg. Pictures that I found a long, long time ago for you guys to see. Cameras have just really come out. On the second day, Robert E. Lee attacks and loses, but he's really not finished. The United States, I have a really good video that shows it's an animated battle, and it really does show you the different sides and how they were doing. The blue is the Union, the red is the Confederacy. The next day, on July 3rd, General Lee orders General George Pickett to basically attack right up the center of the line of the Union, and with about 15,000 men, they go charging, and about 12,000 of them, somewhere in that range, because I've heard ranges between 8 and 13. 12,000 sounds like a better number when I've looked it up in many different times. You're going to hear different numbers. But most of those guys are going to die, or a good chunk of them are going to die. And it's called Pickett's Charge. In a sense, this is it for the Confederacy. From here on out, they're not going to mount a serious attack, or really any serious. They're going to be running for the rest of the war from here on out. This is the turning point of the war. The Battle of Gettysburg is over pretty much right after that, and Lincoln gets reelected right after this. Between the Battle of Gettysburg, people are now supporting him. People are starting to support the war effort. They start to see an end is in sight. But it's only 1863, and we still have another 20 some odd months to go for the war to be over. Okay? Lincoln will also offer a Gettysburg address. There's going to be a movement to dedicate this spot where all these people die as a national cemetery, and they're going to do it pretty close to the battlefield, if not on actual pieces of the battlefield. I'm trying to say Battlesburg and Gettysfield and a couple. I just was all sorts of tongue tied there. He's still becoming more popular. He still gets reelected, but at the time, he's still not the most popular guy. As a matter of fact, he is not even the featured speaker at the dedication. He is going to give a speech behind someone that is talking for 2 hours. 2+ hours in a speech talking about the dedication, what's going on. Lincoln's speech is 269 words. That's it. Takes about 3 or 4 minutes to do. And it is generally, when he did it, he kind of looked at it and said, oh man, I didn't do that great of a job. And as a matter of fact, it is arguably the greatest speech ever given by any U.S. president in our history to this very day. 269 words is pretty amazing. I gave you a video to watch on that. You will see it. it is pretty much a rededication of what the United States is, what it should be, and what it will always be. So I do have other stuff I could give you to offer this, but I'm not going to make you listen to it when I put it on your videos. So this is where we're going to end today. Okay. I don't really have anything else to say. I don't think there's another piece of that. See, there's a whole bunch of listening questions. So just do your work. This will be due on Friday, and I will talk to you in between then. If you have any questions, send me a message through Teams. I will talk to you as much as I possibly can. If you're not talking to me, I'm just assuming you're getting it. You're looking at it and you're answering questions. I'm sending you responses back, and you're not really giving me anything else. I've talked to a few of you, but not many of you. Have a good rest of the week and stay safe.